Hey there, happy new moon, everyone. We are just starting our Ash and Rose Spiritual Collective monthly new moon call. Welcome. So, hey, Ailish, and whoever is joining. So, as you join, if you want to share where you're tuning in from, that would be lovely. Happy Taurus new moon. This is our monthly new moon talk, and today we're talking about pleasure, presencing, and play. Presence and play. So I'm excited to share. And I am out. So excited I get to be outside to share with you. So I'm in Northern California. I'm actually at Muir Beach right now at a friend's house, and look at how beautiful it is. And got to wake up this morning to watching the last crescent moon rise and on its way to going dark, because the new moon is when the moon is completely dark, but it was very cool. I was like, whoa, it's the last little crescent before it goes dark. So happy new moon, everyone, as you're joining us, and welcome to everybody who's also watching this recording later. My name is HeatherAsh Amara, and this is a live for the new moon, a talk on pleasure, presence, and play. And what I like to do with these new moons is we'll do about a 15-minute talk, conversation, exploration around the theme of connected to the Taurus new moon. And Taurus is very much about earth, grounded, play, pleasure, especially pleasure, like just being in the world fully. So we'll do a little talk and then open to any questions that you have or any shares about what's going on in your world right now. And then we'll do a tiny ceremony together using our imagination. And I always invite people to bring a candle, a bowl of water, and a pen. And I have none of those things today because I am on the road. But we always have our imagination. And that's one of the things I love about doing this work, is that you really don't need anything but your awareness, your consciousness, your willingness. So welcome, everyone. So how do we bring in more pleasure, and why? Because I know sometimes we are very wired. I sometimes struggle with this, to feel like I have to get through my list first before I can attend to my spiritual needs. I have to get in, like, deal with the physical world before I can really fulfill my spiritual needs or nourish myself. Or there's too much going on in the world. There's no time to bring in pleasure. There's too much work to do. And that causes us to become brittle and not sustainable. I think this is why so many of us, when things get difficult, we become more and more brittle and dry and start getting paralyzed and unable to respond well to what's happening in the world, because we're not filling that wellspring within us. And pleasure is one way to do that. So what brings us pleasure is our senses, is really connecting to our senses and understanding that on a spiritual path, on a healing path, we want to be in just incredible gratitude for the beauty and the experience of being in this body. That I believe that the elements, that life is constantly sharing with us gifts. So the gifts of the sky, the sunshine, the wind, the flowers, the trees, our own feet against the ground and the feeling sense of that, all of our senses of smell, of taste, of touch, of sight, of feeling, of sensing the world, is a bridge to connect more deeply with the spirit, with the realm of the spirit, and understanding that I really believe that the divine, the invisible realms, the ancestors, the God, goddess, creator, life force moving through everything, is blessing us with manifestation. And the invisible realm drops into the physical realm. So the spirit realm comes into the manifestation in the physical realm. And that interaction, we can be entitled. We can be in our heads thinking about the things that we need to do, or we can be immersed in how much love and grace there is around us at all times. And yes, there are also hard things happening, and this is why I think it's even more important for us to be in pleasure and to find our sense of play in the world, because that helps us to get full. That helps us to feel resourced. I just did a really beautiful visualization for my other Substack, Out of the Fire. And one of the things that I shared that I want to bring to you all as well is this idea that we're always receiving. There is always an interaction between ourselves and the world, and we can let that be filtered constantly through our mind, which I don't recommend. And we can also recognize that there are energies that are permeating our being that are gifts from the divine at all times. So even when we're caught in our mind, we're still receiving. We can become more conscious and more available to the voice of the divine, to the voice of life moving through everything around us. And as we become more available to that pleasure of being in a human body, that blessing of being in a human body, we can then also hear more clearly the voice of the divine, of intuition, of guidance, of next steps that are not just coming from our old stories or our expectations or our fears or our anxiety, but that are coming from our deepest heart and our connection to possibility, our connection to love, our connection to being full. And so I like to imagine that we want to become more full sponges from the inside. So instead of sponging in other people's thought forms and beliefs and fears, or sponging in the negativity of what's happening in the world and the places that we do that unconsciously, that we start filling ourselves from the inside and becoming full of healing, full of joy, full of love, full of presence, and that we can visualize that place of filling from the inside and start to rewire our energetic system so that there is that grace moving through us. And as we fill from the center, I know that we become receptive in different ways. Instead of just sponging in unconsciously what's happening in the dream that so often can be based in fear, we're not negating the things that are difficult or challenging. We're not negating the fear, but we're opening through our own fullness, which allows us to be sustainable in our relationships, to be more present in all of the ways, to be able to hold the complexity of there are so many amazing things happening right now on the planet. There is so much beauty and healing and people waking up and people falling in love and people having children and people tending the land and people remembering who they are. There are so many incredible trees and animals and plants and sky and sunshine. Like there's so much amazing things happening. I went yesterday, I was at the beach sitting on the sand with my bare feet in the sand, and I just looked over and the sun's coming through the trees, these rays, and I can hear the ocean. And it was just this moment of like, this is also happening in the world. And how do we take in and give ourselves permission to nourish ourselves in all the little ways with the beauty that's always around us? It hasn't gone anywhere. As we also hold the challenges that are happening so we can be in response to them rather than in reaction, rather than pulling away or rather than grasping, that we're letting all of life flow through us. That's one way to think about it. We're giving ourselves permission to let the the joy and the play be in our beings. And we're looking for those things. How can I bring in more play in this moment? How can I bring in more joy? And that's not a negation of what's happening in the world. It's a way to fill up so we can stay sustainable, so that we can respond, so that we can be immensely connected to our creativity and our intuition. And creativity doesn't arise inside of us naturally if we are worried and stressed out. That place of thinness that we can start to go into when we are running the list of things that need to be done can drain us. Versus surrounding our lists, this is one way to play with it, like surrounding our lists with pleasure. Okay, for those of us that still have lists and things to do, which is probably all of us, if you're in a body, you're navigating things, right? There are always things to navigate. There will be no lack of things to navigate. But how are we navigating them? Bringing in more pleasure, creating more sense of play as we maintain or expand what we're doing is critical. Because then we're coming from a place of more fullness and connection to the divine, connection to spirit, connection to life moving through us, and that we are a unique manifestation of life. And that unique manifestation, that light of who each of us is a dream from the divine, is not an accident, is a part of what is needed here. And we go suddenly from feeling disconnected to recognizing that we are part of life and that we get to presence more beauty, more pleasure, more play. So a couple more things before we step into ceremony together today. And I'd love to hear just let's just take a pause, that in your spiritual path, especially since this is through Ash Rose Spiritual Collective, and I always want to bring the lens of our connection to the divine, our connection to life moving through us into these talks. What brings you pleasure in your relationship with the divine? Where are places that you're honoring that connection to source, to your essence, to life moving through you, and giving yourself permission? Because I think that unfortunately we need to give ourselves permission to bring in pleasure and to understand that being on a spiritual path is about grace and gratitude, which is directly connected, I know, to pleasure, presence, showing up with what is, and all the things, and play. So any thoughts, any shares are so welcome. Hey, Kathy, I'm thinking about gratitude in my life. You, HeatherAsh, at the top of the list. Thank you for all the years of helping me let life in. Yes. May we all let life in. May we not become just sponges for the negative. May we also not become numb to the harm and the hurt around us. May we keep allowing life to flow through us and find the delight in all of it. We're so, so blessed to be in these bodies at this time. And yeah, times are challenging. And guess what? It's always challenging for humans in some way, right? There's always things happening. So not to negate, but also not to make this like super special. This is more difficult than any other time. I don't think that's true. And I don't think that serves us. Things are more complex for sure, that I'm not negating. And humans have been at war with each other. We have been harming each other. We've been doing all sorts of nonsense. It continues. And as spiritual people on a spiritual path, we want to just speak the truth to ourselves and know that we're in challenging times, connecting to the earth and our deep gratitude for this planet that we're on, that we get such a tiny amount of time on, as well as opening to ancestors, guides, messages, possibility. So, all right. Let's do our little ceremony together. And again, thank you to those of you that are joining live. I'm doing these talks once a month around or on the new moon. Today is the new moon in Taurus, which is an earth sign. And so we're exploring this entire month. I think it's a lovely thing for us to explore our relationship with pleasure, our relationship with showing up and being present in our lives, not from our head, but from our being, our bodies, our hearts, as well as bringing more play. Yeah, beautiful. You all can hear the dog in the background. I'll show you my view in a moment. It's so great. Connecting with the elements, Ailish, smelling the lavender growing in my garden is bringing me joy. I bought a baby lilac this week, and it's bringing me pleasure to talk to them and nurture them, knowing one day they'll bloom. I love that. Yes. And that everything is alive. Everything is alive. And so how do we have more heart, intimate communication with life and where it's moving through the lilac, or where it's moving through that beam of sunshine, or where it's moving through us? Hello, Ma Gran. I let in the morning light and sounds of nature with great gratitude every day. I love that. Hi, sweetheart. Marianne. All right. So put your hands out. Let's do this. And if you have a bowl of water that you want to go get or you want to hold, you're welcome to do that. I always like to create these little touch-ins in a way that we can do them wherever we're at, whether we have the tool or the object with us or not, really does not matter. Okay, you can later go back and do this with a physical object as well, if that feels good to you. So, my God, and I just have to share that I think this is actually really funny. So I'm sitting next to this friend right now who's super pokey. And so every once in a while it pokes me and I kind of giggle. So I'm like, oh my God, there's my pokey friend plant. I'm bringing pleasure into being poked by the plant as well. Okay, so imagine that you're holding a bowl of water. And imagine that this water that you're holding, you're welcome to close your eyes if that helps you to use your imagination to imagine that in this bowl that you're holding, and really feel the bowl. Make it a really special bowl. So it may be a bowl that you have now, it may be a bowl that you're imagining, but what's the feel of that bowl? Is it a glass bowl? Is it ceramic? Is it wood? What's it made out of? Is it porcelain? How does it feel? Find your pleasure in holding this bowl. The color, the feel, the weight, the texture. And then imagine in this bowl is really pure crystalline water. So it may be rainwater, it might be water from a spring, it may be water from the Ganges River that you collected when you were there. So using your imagination, you can imagine someplace you've been where there's really pure sacred water, or imagine a spring water. But imagine in that bowl is very sacred water and that you can sense its vibration. Because water, like all of the elements, has a vibration, has a healing quality, has a presence. And so imagine really alive sacred water in this bowl. So be with that. Just take that in for a moment. And imagine now that you're going to hold the bowl in one hand and you're going to dip your fingers into the water and just bless yourself. Like wherever you feel like you could use some blessing from sacred water, you're either going to imagine doing this with that bowl of water, or if you have a bowl of water, you're going to bless yourself with that water. And I always encourage you to do this later if you're using your imagination. Where could you use more blessing in your body today with this water? So just gently bless yourself with this water. Make it as real as you can with this blessing. Beautiful. And then imagine that you can also drink a little bit of this water and take the pleasure of pure, clear, clean water, that you can drink it in. So feel, what does that feel like to drink in water in a sacred way, to really nourish and bring that purity into your body as well. So imagine drinking that water. And just feeling the sacredness of pleasure, the, the grace and honoring of the gift of this body, these emotions, this manifestation of the divine. Just take that in. Beautiful. And now imagine you're putting the bowl down, physically put the bowl down. And now you're going to pick up a candle. So if you have a candle with you, you're welcome to pick up that candle and a Sharpie. If you don't have a candle right now, that's totally fine. Just imagine holding a candle, and we're going to light it together in a moment. So imagine that you're holding an unlit candle, and you can make it any smell, any size, any color. So what's your candle? And if you have a physical candle, feel it. So feel the weight of your candle and the whatever color it may be. It may be a very plain candle. It may be a very elaborate, smelly candle. All is good. So just take a moment to connect with this candle. And then hold, what is your intent in relationship with pleasure, being really present with yourself and with life moving through you and the world, and with play. So as you open your heart and hold this unlit candle, what's your intent? So of those three qualities, pleasure, presence, play, what feels most nourishing for you for this moon cycle? What seed do you want to plant with yourself? And what seed do you want to plant in the invisible around what you want to cultivate over this next moon cycle? And especially now between the new moon and the full moon, this is an excellent time to set intent to plant seeds of what you want to grow in your being around pleasure, around presence, and around play. So let yourself dream into that and feel. And find the quality of your heart's desire. What do you want more of? What would nourish you? What would fill you up? What would help you to stay more present, more connected to the divine? So it can be anything. It might be, I really want to bring in more curiosity so I can be more playful in my life, or I want to bring in more receiving of beauty. So just name something, a quality, and bring that into your heart as you're holding this candle. And we're going to light our intent together in a moment. So holding this candle in your mind's eye or physically, and you can press it up against your heart and just name what's your heart's desire. What are you yearning for more of in your life around pleasure, around presence, around play? Good. And imagine now that you're gonna light this candle. So hold the candle and you're gonna either physically light it if you have a physical candle, or use your imagination to light this candle and light that intent. So set that intent. I always love writing the intent on the outside of the candle as a spell to call that quality in. So you can imagine that carved into your candle, or you can carve it into your candle or write it on the outside if it's glass or ceramic. And then just light, and let's just hold again in your imagination or physically that lit candle. Permission to go towards your heart's desire, to go towards more pleasure, more presence, and more play. And imagine that we're each connecting to the new moon, to this energy of new beginnings, of possibility, of growing and expansion, that we're connecting to the energy of the new moon and really planting this intent and asking this new moon energy to help us to expand and deepen and embody these qualities, truly embody. Beautiful. And imagine now that you're going to put the candle down. So I like to have for me, I just put the bowl on one side and imagine the candles on the other side. So if you have a table right in front of you, you can put them right next to each other. That we're opening to this balance of water and fire, and being in relationship to those elements. So, and again, you can go and physicalize this later if you're using your imagination, but we're going to put down the water and the candle, and then bring your hands. So imagine that in one hand you're holding the quality of water, in one hand you're holding that quality of fire and that your intent, and just bring it to your heart. And let's sit in silence for a couple minutes to open, to receive whatever's here for you to receive, whether that is a message or just stillness or just the pleasure of breathing with other people. Let's just connect with each other and with ourselves in this moment and this time. Beautiful. And feel free to sit in this energy as long as you would like. Honor this new moon by continuing to name what your intent and your heart's desire is, and feed that. Keep walking towards receiving and reciprocity, that as we receive, we also continue to give. We're giving our wisdom, our pleasure, like letting that radiate out into the world, our sense of play. And I know in the world, all of us can use more ripening around pleasure and presence and play. So may you be those qualities in the world and let that overflow from your heart, from your belly, from your being. Thanks so much for joining me today for this new moon talk and little ceremony. And I hope that it nourished you and helped you to ground into the cycle of this new moon. May we all come back to the cycles and the seasons and the elements and our deep connection with life, the divine, nature, each other. Much love to each of you. Blessed day. Mwah.